All right, good morning. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be picking up on allie.chat, and we're going to be working on version 2.0. So what allie.chat is it's an ASP.NET Web API project that's using Signalr as the data transfer layer. It has WebSocket and TCP support, and what it does is it parses in messages from any one of the providers, which are Twitch, Discord, TCP, or WebSocket, and will route it according to your rules. Our front end that we made was in ASP.NET Razor. And I'm not the biggest fan of it. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be implementing IdentityServer4, and then we're also going to be implementing a new web API, and then we're going to be implementing an Angular front end for the app. So on that note, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I need to do is implement my identity server. So there's identity server samples up here at IdentityServer4.com. So we're going to go ahead and clone this here. So let me download the samples. Well, this is the quick start UI. But what we want is samples of, let me go back one more, that one. And it's here under Community, Quick Starts, and Samples, IdentityServer4, and ASP.NET. And I want to clone this, so I think I have to clone it all the way back here. So let's go ahead and download this. Okay, there it is. We can open this up, and I can move my quick starts for combined ASP and entity framework, and we'll move that to the desktop. When I look at this, it's got a bunch of different things, including the identity server in here. So this is what we want. So we're going to copy this into my project, which is here, and under clients, we need to make one called allie.chat.identity, and I'll paste that in. Now what we can do is open up allie.chat, and that's fine. It's going to tell me two of my projects are not available, which is true. And we're also going to unload. Oh, these two are also unavailable. So we need to add in PHS TCP core async. So let me grab a snippet of this. So we'll remove these, and I need to add in an existing project from projects, servers and clients, core, async, this one, and core, this one. Okay, my dependencies here says that it can't find this one, so we'll scrap this. And then it's also saying that one here. No, that's good. And then in the client here, that one goes away. And then in the web app, that one's good. So let's rebuild it. Okay, we'll remove those, and then we'll add in my link here. There we go. This one doesn't have the namespaces for the enumerators and that, so we're good there. Okay, the next one is in the client. And the next one is in my web app, so I'm going to unload this project. And also my server will unload. This is the last set, which looks good. We can remove and sort and rebuild it. Okay, good. Now what we can do is we can import my existing project called allie.chat source, and we want the backend client identity, and we'll add this in. And I'm going to rename this allie.chat.identity, and also the namespace here to be allie.chat.identity. And then also in the startup, I'm going to change this to be allie.chat.identity. And we'll exchange all of those. So now let's configure my identity server. If I start here in the startup, what I want to make sure is that I have my connection string here going to default connection, and we'll set that up in just a second. We have my application database context, which is using SQL Server. And then here I'm adding my identity for application user and an identity role. And I'm adding my framework stores and my default token providers. I'm adding my MVC here. And then this is where I'm building it. So what I'm saying here is I'm raising my error events, raising my information events, raising all my events. And then what I want to do is add this ASP.NET identity. We want to add a configuration store, which is pointed to my migrations assembly. And my operation store. And in my operation store, we want to say token cleanup interval is equal to 300. Now, if this is a development environment, we're going to add a credential, but otherwise I need to add a cert. So I'll do that by doing a file name here is my path.combine. And I want to do this as a environment.webRootPath, and then we want to do cert.pfx. So let's go get our cert. If I open up another project that's on the same server, and I go to the www root, it's right here. So we'll copy this into www root. And then under cert, we want to copy always. Okay, now we need to say if my file doesn't exist, then we're going to do a new exception called file not found exception. Signing certificate is missing. Otherwise, I want to get my cert here as a new X509 certificate 2. Which is a file name and my constants, which I'm going to call a certificate password. So I can just bring in that class here. Just a second here. Yeah. So I can bring this class in here and paste it in. paste it in. I have to open this in Explorer. Constants. Okay. Let me change the namespace on that. Okay, so it's signed. And then I want to do a builder.add signing certificate, which is my cert. Then I want to add my authorization here. And we're not going to have any of these at the moment. So my authentication. And then below, we want this to say all of that. So that looks great. If I look at views, good, I have my quick starts in here. So we need to change my connection string. So let me do that to my development one. And this goes in phs.allie.chat.identity. And I think that that's it. The next thing would be that we want to add in our third-party providers, but I don't know if I want to do that quite yet. Maybe. Let's take a look here at the first one, which is Google API console. And if I look here at credentials, I don't want to show anything that I shouldn't. I'm going to create a new credential here called an OAuth client ID. And it's a web application called Allie. Oops. I have this under another project already called allie.chat. So I'll create a credential here called, let's do this, allie.chat. I should already have a logo for this. I thought I had a better logo for this. I thought I had a better logo for this somewhere. A second. Let me look for allie.chat here. And we'll just forget the logo for now. Okay, that's fine. Email and profile is fine. Domain. This thing is coming from http:// and it's localhost 5000. So don't worry about that. And now I'm going to say that this is a web application, and I'm going to call it an allie.chat. And this one needs a redirect URL. And if I was to open up a different project here, I'm going to use this URL for the redirect URL, which is http://localhost 5000, which is what that's running on, /sign in Google. And I'll create it. And now I have my client ID and secret. So in allie.chat, I'm going to, in my paths folder, add in here a public string, constant string called Twitch OAuth client ID. And I'll paste that in there, and this is actually Google. And then I'll do the same thing again for a public constant string called Google OAuth client secret. And I'll paste that in. Which is this one. Okay, so now that that's done, down here, I can add in a support for a third-party provider called Add Google with an options here of a options.client ID is equal to my globals dot, and it was called Google OAuth client ID. And then we want to have the other one here for client secret, which is client secret. What's wrong here? Just a mistype. Okay. The next thing I want to do is under my www root, under images, we're going to bring in some logins here, some login images. So we'll bring in these and put this in a new folder called imgs. And we'll open this up and paste in my images. And then under my view for login, where I have my external providers here, I want to add here this inline item and I can just copy this from a different project. And I can put it right here. And that's just going to put the correct provider information. This needs to be a unordered list from class equals list in line. Okay. And at that, I think we just about have the OAuth server set up. What we want to set up also is under my, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the IdentityServer4. And if I step through the quick start, we want to define a couple of resources in here. So under my config, we want to have my identity resources as OpenID and profile. My APIs here are going to be called allie.chat.WebAPI, and it's going to be called the allie.chat web API. And my clients what I'm going to have here is a new list of client, and we only need one of these, and it's going to be a client ID is called phs.allie.chat, and my client name is going to be allie.chat, and my allowed grant types are going to be implicit, and my redirect URIs are going to be my, and Angular CLI apps run on development at localhost 4200. And then we have a post logout URI, which is going to be equal to a http:// and this is also my Angular site at the moment because I don't have any static content. And then we need one here for allowed CORS origins. We want to say require consent is false. We want to allow a certain number of scopes, which is my identity, server constants.openid, and identity server constants.standardscopes.profile. Hey Zachariah Wasim, how are you doing today? Welcome to the channel. It's good to have you back with us. And then the other one here was the allie.chat.web API. Up here, I also want to allow certain claim types, which are going to be profile and allie.chat.web API. And then we also want to say enable local login is true. And my client URI is going to be equal to http://localhost 4200. So what I'm going to do is in my globals, I'm going to move this stuff in there. So this is called WebApp URI, and it's at 4200. And that's going to be globals.webapp URI. Like that. And that's it. So I think that that sets up our identity server. So now what I'm going to do is open up my SQL server. And I'll set this as a startup project. Let me make sure that this is in fact running on 5000, and it is. And we'll connect to my local SQL server. And under databases, I'm going to delete my PHS, allie.chat, and identity. And now in here, if I look at my data, I have my migrations here. So I need to do on my identity, a update database for my context, so -c, application DB context. And then update database. And I don't think this one has any. Oh yeah, it does. It's called users. So let me make sure that that wrote. I can see that I have a PHS allie.chat identity-identity. And there's my ASP.NET users. So let me look at my connection string real quick. And this needs to only have one identity. And we'll just do this again. And then also we need to run this on my update database -c configuration DB context. And a update database -c persisted grant DB context. And now when I look at my SQL server, here it is with my identity server. So let's see the database by running it. I was port 5000 in use. Okay, there it goes. That's good. We look at my discovery document, that's working. So since identity server is working, I can delete my index.html. And then also under my layout, I want to get rid of the drop down here for the name. And I want to rebuild one more time. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is in source tree, if I look at my commit real quick, I want to open up the correct repository here. Okay, and what I want to do is in here, I need to add some stuff to the ignore. So let's see what we want to ignore. Well, that looks pretty good.
All this is being removed. This is the new stuff. So we're looking for bin or library. And I think we're good. So let me stage everything and do a implementing IS4, and we'll commit it and push that out. So I need to do a fetch here. And now I can push out IdentityServer4. I thought. I want to pull my development branch in here. Now if I check out my identity server here, can I push this out now? Okay, let me do one thing here, which is that I'm going to go into the source folder and I'm going to cut these two and move them to a temp. How is that running? Okay. And then in here, I can just switch over to my development branch. And what I can do is I can just delete client's domain modules and bring back in my temp. And now I can push this out to development. We'll just verify that nothing's getting commit here with library, and it's not, so we can do a implemented identity server 4. And we'll stage all that and push that out. All right, so we've implemented IdentityServer4. The next thing we're going to do is we need to hook up a web API. So stay with me, we'll be right back.